The massive ship appeared at the edge of the solar system like a dark mountain floating in space. It was 12 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide, covered in armor plating that had never been scratched by enemy fire. This was the Sovereign's might, the pride of the Hegemony Empire's warfleet. Admiral Zekthar stood on the bridge, his forearms crossed behind his back. His purple skin had the deep color that came with age and authority. For 800 years, the Hegemony had expanded across the galaxy. They had conquered over 3,000 worlds. Every species they met had the same choice: join the Empire or die. "Scan the system," Zekthar ordered. His voice was deep and commanding. The bridge crew worked at their stations. The Sovereign's might carried 2,000 of the Empire's best warriors. Behind them, 40 more ships waited in formation. This was more firepower than most worlds had ever seen. "Admiral, we detect a small vessel approaching," reported Commander Yixtal. "It appears to be a patrol ship of some kind." Zekthar looked at the display screen. The human ship was tiny compared to his dreadnought. It looked like a metal insect, next to a giant predator. The ship had simple lines and basic weapons, nothing impressive. "How pathetic," Zekthar said with amusement. "Open a channel." The communications officer activated the transmission system. Zekthar had given this speech so many times he could say it in his sleep. "Attention, primitive species," he began. I'm Admiral Zekthar of the Hegemony Empire. Your world has been selected for integration into our great civilization. You have one choice: surrender immediately and become part of the Empire, or face complete destruction. You have 10 minutes to respond. The bridge fell quiet. This was usually when the crying and begging started. Sometimes the locals tried to offer tribute or negotiate. The smart ones surrendered right away. The stupid ones tried to fight and died quickly. Captain Jake Martinez sat in the command chair of the Liberty's Edge. He was 35 years old with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. He had served in Earth's Deep Space Patrol for 12 years. He had never expected to be the first human to talk to aliens. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," said Lieutenant Amy Chen at the communication station. "Put it on screen," Jake ordered. The alien appeared on the main display. It was tall and purple with 4 arms and eyes like a shark. When it spoke, the translation software converted its words into English. Jake listened to the ultimatum without changing expression. 10 minutes to surrender or die," Jake repeated quietly. "That's not very polite." "Orders, Captain?" asked Commander Lisa Park, his second in command. Jake thought for a moment. Earth's leaders had prepared for this day. They had protocols and procedures. But none of those protocols covered what to do when aliens showed up demanding immediate surrender. "Open a channel," Jake said. The communications officer nodded. "Channel open, sir." Jake looked directly at the alien admiral on his screen. His voice was steady and calm. "Admiral Zekthar of the Hegemony Empire," he said. "This is Captain Jake Martinez of Earth's Deep Space Patrol. I have a message for you." On the Sovereign's might, Admiral Zekthar leaned forward. This was unusual. Most species begged for mercy or tried to explain why they should be spared. This human sounded almost bored. "Speak your message, primitive," Zekthar said. Jake's expression didn't change. "You have 60 seconds to turn around and leave our system. If you don't, we will consider your presence an act of war against humanity." The bridge of the Sovereign's might fell completely silent. Commander Yixtal's mouth hung open. The navigation officer dropped his stylus. Even the communications specialist stopped breathing for a moment. In 800 years of conquest, no species had ever made such a demand. No one had ever told the Hegemony Empire to leave. The very idea was impossible. Admiral Zekthar blinked, his large eyes several times. He was sure he had misunderstood. "Repeat your message, human." "You heard me correctly," Jake said. His voice remained calm and steady. "You have 55 seconds left." Zekthar's purple skin began to darken with anger. "Do you understand what you are saying? This is the Hegemony Empire. We have conquered 3,000 worlds. We have weapons that can crack planets in half. Your tiny ship wouldn't last 5 seconds against our weakest fighter. 40 seconds, Jake replied. The alien admiral's forearms began to shake with rage. You dare threaten us? We are the masters of this galaxy. Your pathetic species will burn for this insult. 20 seconds, Jake said. On Earth, deep beneath the Colorado mountains, General Patricia Wells watched the conversation on her command screens. She had been waiting for this moment since she was a young officer. Humanity had spent decades preparing for first contact. They had hoped it would be peaceful. They had planned for it to be violent. All stations report ready, her aide reported. Good, Patricia said quietly. Let's see what these aliens are really made of. Back in space, Jake Martinez looked at his chronometer. Time's up, Admiral. What's your decision? Admiral Zekthar could barely contain his fury. You will regret this day, human. I will show you what happens to species that defy the hegemony empire. I was hoping you'd say that, Jake said. Then he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of a predator who had just cornered his prey. The transmission ended. Admiral Zekthar stared at the blank screen for several seconds. In all, his years of conquest, nothing like this had ever happened. A primitive species had just declared war on the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Bring the fleet to battle stations, he ordered. We're going to teach these humans about respect. As the Imperial ships began to advance, Jake Martinez opened a new channel to Earth Defense Command. This is Liberty's Edge, he said. The aliens have refused to leave. Beginning defensive operations now. The war between humanity and the hegemony empire had officially begun. What Admiral Zekthar didn't know was that he had just made the biggest mistake in the history of his species. Admiral Zekthar watched his fleet move into attack formation. 40 ships spread out across space like a wall of death. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a city. Together, they could turn a planet into dust. Show me their world, he ordered. The main screen displayed Earth. It was a blue and green planet with white clouds swirling around it. Small space stations orbited the world. Zekthar counted 12 human ships in the area, 12 ships against 40 Imperial vessels. The humans were either very brave or very stupid. Begin the demonstration, Zekthar said. Transmit the victory files. Commander Yixtel activated the transmission array. Images flooded toward Earth showing the conquest of other worlds. Cities burning under Imperial fire. Armies surrendering in terror. Entire civilizations kneeling before hegemony banners. Let them see what happens to those who resist us, Zekthar said with satisfaction. On the orbital defense station New Horizon, Captain Lisa Harper watched the alien transmissions with her crew. The images were meant to frighten them. They showed worlds burning and populations fleeing in panic. Impressive, Lisa said calmly. They really liked their dramatic presentations. Lieutenant Dan Foster looked worried. Captain, those ships they destroyed were massive. Some of them were bigger than our entire defense fleet. I noticed, Lisa replied. Send a message to Captain Martinez. Tell him we're ready to begin Phase 2. Lisa had commanded New Horizon for 6 years. The station was one of 12 orbital platforms defending Earth. It looked like a simple research facility from the outside. Most of its real purpose was hidden deep inside its hull. Dr. Alan Brooks sat in his laboratory aboard the science vessel Discovery. He was Earth's chief expert on alien life. For 20 years he had studied theoretical alien biology and psychology. Now he faced real aliens for the first time. I should try to talk to them, he told his assistant, Dr. Sarah Kim. The military. Already tried that, Sarah pointed out. They weren't very interested in conversation. Alan activated his communication system anyway. Attention, Hegemony Fleet. This is Dr. Alan Brooks of Earth. We are a peaceful species. We don't want conflict with your empire. Please reconsider your actions. The response came quickly from Admiral Zekthar himself. Your primitive words mean nothing, human. You have chosen death. Watch and learn what defying the hegemony empire costs. The transmission ended. Alan shook his head sadly. They're not interested in peace. On Earth, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Patricia Wells stood in the command center that had been built 50 years earlier. The facility was called Deep Root Command. Very few people knew it existed. "Status report," she ordered. "Colonel," Mike Turner read from his tablet. "All defense networks are online. The orbital platforms are ready. The hidden fleet is in position. Ground-based systems are armed and tracking." Patricia nodded. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this day. They had learned from every war in their history. They had studied every battle and every defeat. They were ready. "Begin Phase 2, she ordered. In space, the Imperial fleet moved closer to Earth. Admiral Zekthar expected the humans to panic now. Usually, primitive species tried to negotiate once they saw the demonstration videos. Sometimes they offered tribute or resources. The smart ones surrendered immediately. "Admiral," Commander Yix-Tal reported, "the humans are not responding to our transmissions. Continue the advance," Zekthar ordered. "Prepare the plasma batteries. We'll destroy one of their orbital stations as an example. The Sovereigns might move toward Earth with its escort ships, their weapons charged with deadly energy. The plasma batteries could melt through the hull of any known ship in seconds." Captain Jake Martinez watched the alien fleet approach from the bridge of Liberty's Edge. His small patrol ship looked helpless next to the massive Imperial vessels. That was exactly how it was supposed to look. "Range?" he asked. 200,000 kilometers in closing," reported Navigator Tom Wilson. "Good. They're right where we want them." Lieutenant Amy Chen looked confused. "Sir, shouldn't we be running? Those ships could destroy us easily." Jake smiled. "That's what they think too." On the New Horizon, Captain Lisa Harper received a coded message from Earth Defense Command. It was 3 simple words. "Begin the hunt." She activated her command console. Around Earth, systems that had been dormant for years began to wake up. Sensors that looked like communication arrays started tracking the alien ships. Defensive platforms that appeared to be research stations began charging their hidden weapons. Admiral Zekthar felt confident as his fleet approached Earth. The humans had stopped transmitting. They were probably in their bunkers now, crying and praying to whatever gods they worshipped. This would be over quickly. "Target the largest orbital station," he commanded. "Full plasma barrage. Let's show them what real power looks like." The Imperial ships locked their weapons onto New Horizon. The plasma batteries glowed with deadly energy. In a few seconds, the human station would be nothing but scattered debris. "Fire!" Zekthar ordered. Streams of superheated plasma shot across space toward the human station. Each blast carried enough energy to vaporize a mountain. The attack would surely destroy the primitive human facility. But something strange happened. As the plasma approached New Horizon, the space around the station shimmered. The deadly energy hit what looked like empty space and simply disappeared. "What?" Commander Yixtal stared at his instruments in confusion. "The plasma, it's gone." Admiral Zekthar leaned forward. "Explain." "I don't understand, sir. Our weapons fired correctly. The energy should have hit their station, but it just vanished." On New Horizon, Captain Lisa Harper watched her defensive screens with satisfaction. The alien plasma had struck their shield generators perfectly. The energy had been absorbed and redirected harmlessly into space. "Phase 2 complete," she reported to Earth Command. "The aliens have revealed their primary weapons, beginning Phase 3. Admiral Zekthar stared at the human station. It sat in space completely undamaged. His most powerful weapons had done nothing to it. For the first time in 800 years of conquest, Imperial weapons had failed to destroy their target. "How is this possible?" he whispered. His question was answered by Captain Jake Martinez. The human's voice came over the communication system, calm and steady as before. "Admiral Zekthar," Jake said, "you just fired on a civilian research station. That was a mistake." The tone in the human's voice had changed. It was still calm, but now it carried something else. Something that made Zekthar's purple skin go cold. It was the voice of a predator about to strike. Admiral Zekthar stared at his weapon displays in disbelief. Every indicator showed that his plasma batteries had fired correctly. The energy readings were perfect, but the human station remained completely undamaged. "Fire again," he ordered. "All ships, concentrate fire on that station." 40 Imperial ships opened fire at once. The space around Earth lit up with deadly plasma streams. Enough energy to destroy a small moon struck the orbital station called New Horizon. The brilliant light faded, and the station was still there. "Impossible," Commander Yixtal whispered. Captain Lisa Harper smiled on the bridge of New Horizon. The alien weapons were powerful, but humans had been preparing for this kind of attack for decades. The station's shield generators were working perfectly. "All stations, this is Harper," she transmitted to the other human ships. "The aliens have shown us their best weapons. Time to show them ours." Captain Jake Martinez received the message, on Liberty's edge. His small patrol ship was still facing the massive Imperial fleet. To the aliens, he looked helpless and alone. "Tom, take us closer to their flagship," he ordered his navigator. "Sir?" Lieutenant Tom Wilson looked worried. "That ship could destroy us with one shot." "That's what they think," Jake replied calmly. The Liberty's edge moved toward the Sovereign's might. It was like a mouse approaching a lion. The Imperial ship was 50 times larger and carried 1,000 times more firepower. Admiral Zekthar watched the tiny human ship approach. "What are they doing? Are they trying to ram us?" "Should we destroy them, Admiral?" asked Commander Yixtal. "Not yet. I want to see what these primitives think they can accomplish." The Liberty's edge came to a stop just 1 kilometer from the Imperial flagship. Jake Martinez opened a communication channel. "Admiral, you seem to be having trouble with your weapons," he said politely. "Would you like us to show you how it's done?" Before Zekthar could respond, the small human ship opened fire. But these weren't the simple lasers or missiles the Admiral expected. Beams of pure energy struck the Sovereign's might. The ship's mighty armor, which had never been damaged in 800 years of war, began to glow red-hot. Alarms screamed across the Imperial bridge. "Hull breach on decks 12 through 15, shouted the damage control officer. "We're losing atmosphere." Zekthar couldn't believe what he was seeing. A tiny patrol ship had just damaged his flagship. "Return fire! Destroy that pest!" The Sovereign's might turned its massive guns toward Liberty's edge. Plasma cannons that could level cities fired at point-blank range. The human ship disappeared in a ball of superheated energy. "Direct hit," reported the weapons officer. "Target destroyed." But as the energy faded, the human ship was still there. Not only was it undamaged, it was firing again. More beams struck the Imperial flagship, cutting deep into its hull. Lieutenant Commander Steve Collins was having the time of his life. He piloted his fighter craft through the Imperial fleet like a dancer moving through music. Plasma bolts shot past him as alien gunners tried to track his movements. "This is Eagle 1, he radioed to his squadron. "These aliens are really slow. It's like they're moving underwater." Steve pulled his fighter into a turn that should have killed him. G-forces were enough to crush a normal human body. But Steve had been trained for this. Human pilots could handle forces that would liquefy most alien species. "Eagle 2, follow me in," Steve called to his wingman, Lieutenant Carol Hayes. "Let's show them how Earth pilots fly." The two fighters dove toward an Imperial cruiser. The alien ship fired everything it had at them. Hundreds of plasma bolts filled the space around the human fighters. None of them found their target. Steve and Carol flew through the defensive fire like it wasn't there. Their fighters struck the cruiser with precise shots that took out its engines and weapons. The massive alien ship went dead in space. "Eagle 1 to all fighters," Steve transmitted. "The aliens can't track us. Their targeting systems are too slow. We can dance around them all day." Admiral Zekthar watched his fleet being torn apart by a handful of human ships. It made no sense. The humans had fewer ships and smaller weapons. They should have been destroyed in the first minute of battle. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. Commander Yixtal studied the tactical displays. "Sir, their ships are incredibly fast. Our targeting computers can't lock onto them, and their defensive systems, they're absorbing our plasma fire somehow." "That's impossible. No species has technology like that." "Admiral," the communications officer interrupted. We're receiving a transmission from another human ship. A new human appeared on the screen. This one was a woman with short blonde hair and cold blue eyes. She wore the uniform of a ship captain. "I'm Captain Rachel Stone, of the Silent Thunder," she said. "Admiral, you might want to look behind you." Zekthar spun around. There, directly behind his flagship, was a human ship he had never seen before. It was sleek and black, and it had appeared from nowhere. How did they get there?" he stammered. "We've been here the whole time," Captain Stone replied. "You just couldn't see us." The Silent Thunder was a stealth destroyer. It had been following the Imperial fleet since they entered the solar system. The aliens had never detected it. "Impossible," Zekthar said. "Our sensors are the best in the galaxy." "Your sensors are 800 years old," Rachel replied. "Human technology is a bit more advanced." More human ships began appearing throughout the Imperial formation. They materialized from empty space like ghosts, becoming solid. The aliens had been surrounded without knowing it. Captain Jake Martinez opened another communication channel. "Admiral Zekthar, you wanted to see what happens when someone defies the hegemony empire. Now you know what happens when someone threatens humanity." The Imperial fleet was trapped. Human ships surrounded them from every direction. The aliens' weapons couldn't hit their targets, and their sensors couldn't track the human vessels. For the first time in 800 years, Admiral Zekthar felt fear. His mighty fleet was helpless against these humans. Everything he knew about warfare had just been proven wrong. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. "We want you to leave," Jake replied. "But first, you're going to listen to a story about planet Earth." The battle had stopped. The Imperial ships floated dead in space, their weapons useless. Around them, human vessels waited like hunters surrounding their prey. Admiral Zekthar realized he had made a terrible mistake. These weren't primitive aliens to be easily conquered. These were predators, and they had been hunting his fleet from the moment it entered their system. The galaxy's greatest military force had just been defeated by 12 human ships. Admiral Zekthar sat in his command chair, staring at the tactical display. His mighty fleet was surrounded by human ships that had appeared from nowhere. The most powerful military force in the galaxy had been trapped by 12 vessels from a species he had never heard of. "Admiral," Commander Yixtal whispered. "What are your orders?" Zekthar had no orders. In 800 years of conquest, nothing like this had ever happened. The hegemony empire had never been defeated. They had never even been challenged. Captain Jake Martinez appeared on the main screen. His calm expression had not changed since the battle began. "Admiral, you said you wanted to show us what happens to species that defy your empire. Now we're going to show you something about Earth." Another human appeared beside Martinez. This was Dr. Alan Brooks, the scientist who had tried to make peace earlier. He looked older now and sadder. "Admiral Zekthar," Dr. Brooks began, "you made a mistake about humanity. You thought we were a peaceful species that could be easily conquered. Let me tell you about our real history." The main screen changed to show images of Earth, but these weren't the beautiful pictures of blue, oceans and green forest that the aliens had seen before. These were different images, darker images. "This is human history," Dr. Brooks continued. "For thousands of years, we have been at war, not with aliens from other worlds, but with each other." The screen showed ancient battles, armies with swords and spears fighting in fields of mud and blood, cities burning as soldiers marched through the streets. "We learned to fight before we learned to farm," Dr. Brooks explained. "War is not something we do. War is what we are." Admiral Zekthar watched in growing horror as the images continued. He saw humans in metal armor fighting with primitive weapons, then humans with guns and cannons destroying each other's cities, then massive battles with millions of soldiers. "Your species fights other species," Captain Martinez said. "We fight ourselves, and we're very good at it." The images changed again. Now they showed weapons that made the Imperial plasma cannons look like toys, missiles that could destroy entire cities, bombs that could turn countries into glass, ships that could carry death across oceans. We built weapons that could destroy our own planet, Dr. Brooks said quietly. Then we built more weapons, and then we learned to live with the fear that we might use them. Commander Yixtal looked at his admiral with wide eyes. Sir, are these images real? The humans have no reason to lie, Zekthar replied. They've already proven they can destroy us. The screen showed more recent images. Humans in spacesuits working on massive construction projects, cities being built underground, ships being hidden in asteroid fields. After we learned to travel between stars, we kept preparing for war, Captain Martinez explained. But not war with each other anymore. War with whoever might threaten our home. Captain Lisa Harper joined the transmission from her orbital station. Every human child learns about the great wars of Earth. We study them in school. We remember them so we don't repeat them with each other. But we also remember them so we know how to fight when we have to, added Captain Rachel Stone from her stealth ship. The images changed to show human military training, soldiers learning to fight in conditions that would kill most species, pilots practicing maneuvers that defied physics, engineers building weapons in secret facilities. You see those cities on Earth? Captain Martinez pointed to the orbital view of the planet. Half of them are fake. The real population lives underground in bunkers that can survive nuclear war. Admiral Zekthar felt cold. Underground? All of them? Most of them, Dr. Brooks confirmed. We learned to hide our cities after we learned to destroy them. Every human settlement has emergency shelters. Every human child knows how to live underground, for years if necessary. Colonel Danny Rivers appeared on the transmission. He was broadcasting from somewhere on Earth's surface. Behind him, weapons that had been hidden in mountains were rising into view. You wanted to attack our planet, Colonel Rivers said. These are our planetary defense systems. We built them to stop asteroids. We can also use them to stop invading fleets. Massive railguns emerged from what had looked like hills. Energy cannons unfolded from fake buildings. Missile silos opened across the continents like flowers blooming in fast motion. Every human world has defenses like this, Colonel Rivers continued. Every human colony. Every human space station. We don't build anything without thinking about how to defend it. The alien admiral was beginning to understand. You prepared for us. You knew we were coming. We didn't know you specifically were coming, Captain Martinez replied. But we knew someone would come eventually. Someone always does. Dr. Brooks leaned forward. Admiral, you said your empire has conquered 3,000 worlds. How many of those worlds fought back? All of them fought back, Zekthar answered. At first. But they learned to surrender when they saw our power. And how many of them had been fighting wars for their entire history? Zekthar thought about this. None of them. Most species achieve peace before they reach the stars. Exactly, Dr. Brooks said. Most species stop fighting each other when they become advanced enough for space travel. They learn to work together. They become peaceful. Captain Martinez smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Humans never learned that lesson. We kept fighting even after we reached space. We kept building weapons even after we colonized other worlds. Why? Admiral Zekthar asked. Because we knew that someday someone like you would show up demanding our surrender, Captain Martinez replied. And we wanted to be ready. The screen showed human colonies throughout the solar system. Mars had cities and military bases. The asteroids had hidden weapon platforms. Even the outer planets had human settlements and defense systems. You thought you were attacking one world, Captain Lisa Harper said. You're actually fighting an entire star system that has been turned into a fortress. Admiral Zekthar looked at his tactical display again. The human ships around his fleet were just the beginning. There were more ships hiding in the asteroid belt. More weapons on the planets. More defenses than he could count. We could destroy your entire fleet right now, Captain Martinez said calmly. But we won't. Why not? Zekthar asked. Because we're not conquerors, Dr. Brooks answered. We don't want your empire. We don't want your worlds. We just want to be left alone. Captain Martinez leaned closer to his screen. But if you ever threaten Earth again, if you ever come back with more ships, if you ever tell other species that humans are weak, we will find you. We will hunt you across the galaxy if we have to. And we are very, very good at hunting. Admiral. Zekthar believed him. These humans had been hunting his fleet since the moment he entered their system. They had let him reveal all his weapons and tactics while hiding their own strength. "What do you want from me?" he asked quietly. "We want you to leave," Captain Martinez said, "and we want you to remember what you learned here today." Admiral Zekthar looked at his fleet status display. 20 of his 40 ships were damaged or destroyed. The survivors were trapped by human vessels that seemed to appear and disappear at will. His flagship, the mighty Sovereign's Might, had holes burned through its armor by a single human patrol ship. "Admiral," Commander Yixtal said quietly, "we need to surrender." The words hung in the air like poison. In 800 years of conquest, no Imperial fleet had ever surrendered. The very idea was impossible. But as Zekthar looked at the tactical display, he knew his commander was right. "Open a channel to the humans," he ordered. Captain Jake Martinez appeared on the screen. His calm expression had never changed throughout the entire battle. "Yes, Admiral?" We, Zekthar struggled with the words. "We request terms of surrender." Jake exchanged glances with someone off-screen. "Admiral, you don't surrender to us. You just leave. But before you go, there's someone who wants to talk to you." A new human appeared on the transmission. This was Captain Amy Foster, commander of the human fleet vessel Defiant. She was older than the other humans, with gray hair and scars on her face. Her eyes were hard and cold. "Admiral Zekthar," she began, "you came to our home threatening our families. You saw what we do to protect them. Now you're going to take a message back to your empire." Captain Foster stood up from her command chair. Behind her, the bridge of the Defiant was filled with human officers. All of them were watching the alien admiral with the same cold expression. "Humanity is not interested in conquest," Captain Foster continued. "We don't want your worlds. We don't want your empire. We just want to be left alone." She walked closer to her screen. "But if you or any other power threatens Earth or human colonies, we will find you. We will hunt you across the galaxy if necessary. We are very good at hunting." Admiral Zekthar felt a chill run through his body. The human's voice was calm, but there was something in her eyes that terrified him. It was the look of a predator, making a promise. "Your fleet will be allowed to leave," Captain Foster said. "But first we're going to make some changes to your ship's computers." "What kind of changes?" Zekthar asked. Captain Martinez answered. "We're going to delete your sensor logs of this battle. We'll replace them with edited files that show some of our capabilities, but not all of them." "Why would you do that?" "Because we want your empire to know we're dangerous," Dr. Brooks explained, joining the transmission. "But we don't want them to know exactly how dangerous. Fear keeps the peace better than knowledge." Human technicians were already boarding the damaged Imperial ships. They moved through the alien vessels like ghosts, their work invisible to the Imperial crews. Within minutes, every computer system had been accessed and modified. "Your weapons data has also been copied," Captain Martinez added. "We want to understand your technology in case we meet more of your ships someday." Admiral Zekthar watched helplessly as the humans took apart 800 years of Imperial military secrets. "You're stealing our technology." "We're learning. From our enemies," Captain Foster corrected. "It's what humans do." Dr. Brooks activated a new transmission. "Admiral, we're sending you a complete record of human history. Share it with your empire's leaders. Make sure they understand what Earth is really like." The data files flooded into the Imperial computers. Thousands of years of human warfare. Every battle, every weapon, every strategy that had ever been used on Earth. The file was enormous. "This is our gift to your empire," Dr. Brooks continued. "Knowledge. Study it carefully. Learn from it. And remember that the species you just fought learned all of this by fighting each other." Captain Foster stepped forward again. "Admiral, your empire has ruled the galaxy for 800 years. You've conquered 3,000 worlds. But you've never met a species like humanity before. She paused, letting her words sink in. We're not like the others. We don't surrender. We don't run away. We don't beg for mercy. When someone threatens our home, we hunt them down and destroy them. But we also don't start fights, Captain Martinez added. We finish them. The human ships began moving away from the Imperial fleet. One by one, they disappeared back into the darkness of space. Some faded from sensors as their stealth systems activated. Others simply flew away into the asteroid belt or toward the outer planets. Within minutes, only 3 human ships remained visible: Captain Martinez's Liberty's Edge, Captain Harper's New Horizon, and Captain Foster's Defiant. The rest had vanished as quickly as they had appeared. Your fleet is free to leave, Captain Foster said. But remember this, Admiral. You found Earth today by accident. Next time we'll find you on purpose. The transmission ended. Admiral Zekthar sat in silence for a long moment, staring at the blank screen. His bridge crew waited for orders, but he had none to give. Sir? Commander Yixtal asked quietly. What are your orders? Set course for Imperial space, Zekthar said finally. Maximum speed. What about the mission, sir? What about conquering this system? Zekthar looked at his commander with tired eyes. The mission has changed. We're no longer conquerors. We're messengers. The surviving Imperial ships limped away from Earth. Behind them, the blue and green planet looked peaceful and quiet. Nothing in the system suggested the military power that had just defeated the galaxy's greatest fleet. As the Imperial ships jumped to hyperspace, Admiral Zekthar began composing his report to the Hegemony High Command. It was the most difficult document he had ever written. How do you tell your leaders that the Empire's expansion has ended? How do you explain that you found a species that cannot be conquered? How do you admit that the galaxy's greatest military force had been defeated by 12 ships from a world no one had ever heard of? 6 months later, the Hegemony High Command issued a new regulation. Imperial Navigation Order 4471 designated the Sol system as a restricted navigation zone. All Imperial vessels were ordered to maintain a minimum distance of 50 light-years from human space. The official reason given was unstable stellar phenomena. The real reason was classified at the highest levels of the Empire. Only a few dozen officials knew the truth about what had happened when the hegemony first met humanity. In the classified files, the encounter was given a simple designation: the day the Empire learned to fear. Back on Earth, life continued as normal. Children went to school, adults went to work. The orbital stations resumed their research missions. The patrol ships went back to their routine patrols. But deep beneath the mountains and hidden throughout the solar system, humanity's guardians remained ready. They watched the stars and waited for the next threat to arrive. Because humans had learned long ago that there was always a next threat, and they would be ready for it.